the past 2 days, I gave a talk about character formation, and in particular how teachers and formators can help in guiding our young people today, particularly Gen Z, the centennials, or the I generation, the digital natives. And I focused a lot on the importance of rapport and listening, di ba? Nowadays, we ourselves, we adults also, we don't know how to listen anymore. We want quick fixes, quick answers, immediate responses, pretty much like a value meal, di ba? We want everything fast. But true listening, authentic listening is really an offshoot of authentic love. And love is never rushed, can never be rushed. As Father James Gascon, Jesuit priest of Center for Family Ministries, said in our CEFAM classes, he said, we should listen to understand and not listen to advice. And sakit natin yun, di ba? We listen to somebody talking and we're already looking for the solution to the problem rather than just being fully present, maintaining eye contact, showing interest, and genuine concern for the person who is speaking. So, share ko lang sa inyo some of the things that I actually picked up from the course that I recently completed. For those who are interested in taking courses online, check out Coursera, Coursera. Coursera. There's so many courses that you can take if you don't have the luxury of time because of the traffic to actually take a full course at the moment. I'd highly recommend taking those online courses. Anyway, I recently completed the requirements for storytelling and influencing, communicating with impact. And there were so many beautiful topics that were discussed in that course. But I want to share with you uh, the takeaways of what listening, what rapport, what answering questions entails. So first, rapport, 'di ba? Rapport in any conversation, whether it's an informal conversation or a classroom lecture or even a sale, 'di ba? A sale, let's say in the corporate setting, there is a need for us to establish rapport with the person we're talking to. And especially if, di ba, studies show that when you like somebody, there is a tendency for synchrony. No, synchrony meaning you match that person's tone of voice, you tend to match that person's body language, di ba? So that applies. That applies to creating or establishing nurturing rapport. There's just three things you should remember. Triple A. And this is something I shared to the teachers in Holy Angel, to the DepEd teachers recently. The first A is be aware, no? Pay attention. How many people have you talked to, I'm sure we've experienced in the past that you're talking to somebody and you know that person's physically there, but his mind or her mind, heart and spirit aren't, 'di ba? Distracted, cell phone in one hand, looking at you, looking somewhere else, 'di ba? Basta not paying attention. So the first tenet, to establishing rapport and being a good listener is awareness. And awareness means giving that person full attention. And one of the concrete ways to do that is to maintain eye contact, 'di ba? Maintaining eye contact. And I also read that, tilting your head a little bit to the side also evokes that parang it shows the person that you are concerned and that you're leaning forward and you are listening in, 'di ba? So that's the first, awareness, paying attention. The second A is to be authentic. And according to Macpherson, one of the teachers, one of the professors who gave that course on storytelling and influencing, she mentioned that to be authentic means to be able to match the person you're talking to at least around 60%. Diba? Matching, as I said, if you like the person, there's a tendency to match the tone of voice and also to match that person's body language, right? 60% only. Don't copy the person 100% because that's kind of weird already. It's like you being a robot and just, photocopying everything the person is doing and saying. Wag naman ganon. Around 60%, right? So if the person is showing excitement, your face will also light up and your hand gestures will also be, just as dynamic. But if the person is sharing something sad or bleak or something frustrating, di ba? You as the listener, being an authentic, genuine listener, you'll also match that. And then the third is, so I mentioned, be aware, be authentic. The third is to adapt. And the easiest way to explain adapt is to actually repeat some of the words that they said. So, kunyari, meron kang kausap, tapos magkikwento siya na, uy, alam mo, I have good news. I recently got a promotion, I've been working in the company for 5 years, blah, 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 blah. And you as the listener, diba, you're showing attention and you are copying, parang, wow, really? Yan. You got promoted? 5 years ka pa lang. Na-promote ka na sa ganitong posisyon. Yan. So it's, repeating what the person just said. And I mean, how would you feel, diba? If the person you're talking to would repeat keywords from the story or from the good news or whatever that you just uttered. Diba? It would make you feel like you were heard. Hindi yung minsan, di ba, pag medyo pagod na tayo o kaya hindi natin trip yung kausap natin, there's a tendency for us to just say, okay, and then the conversation dies easily. But for us to be able to sustain the conversation and at the same time, not just to sustain it, but to really show that we care for the person, di ba? The easiest way is for us to repeat. Repeat keywords and phrases. Did I hear you right? Did you just get a promotion? Yeah, I did. Congratulations. Diba? So those 3 A's, very simple. Be aware, adapt, and be authentic. Very, very, easy to remember. And there are many other tips, but those are the basic 3 points for us to be able to develop better listening skills and rapport. I think bottom line also is the intention eh. The person will also feel your energy, diba? Your energy, your intention, your authenticity through a smile, no? Smiling is also a very powerful way by which you can make the person you are talking to feel important, diba? A smile. And I learned in that course that there are different kinds of smiles. And maybe you've encountered people who smile just up to here. And there are people who smile all the way and you can see crow's feet on the sides of their eyes. You would know, right, when a smile is fake. A smile that doesn't show teeth, just does this, just a smirk. But when you smile with your eyes, sabi nga nila, when I smile, nawawala lalo yung mata ko. Diba? So when you have crow's feet, that's actually, I don't know if I'm gonna pronounce this word correctly. It's called the Duchenne smile. The Duchenne smile is a way of showing the person that you are being true. No, you are being true, that your happiness and the joy that you're showing is true, is really coming from here. Diba? It takes more effort to really allow your face to brighten up that way. So that's another very important tool. Of course, the power of touch, diba? If you want to show comfort and if you want to extend compassion or extend understanding to the person you're talking to, a light pat on the back or sitting closer to the person so that the conversation is just private between the two of you. It's also another powerful way by which you can let the person know, hey, I'm here for you, right? I also learned that according to this study by Merabian, remember this, the 7-38-55 rule. 7-38-55 rule. Diba oftentimes, especially if you are an educator or a formator or even a salesperson, diba? We often put so much focus on the words that we're gonna say, the content. But did you know that the message that we deliver, the impact of the message that we deliver is just the words that we say is just actually 7% of the 100% impact that our message delivers. 7% lang yung words. Do you know what the 38-55 are? 38% is actually the tone of your voice. Imagine, the tone of your voice has more bearing than the actual words that you say. And bigger than that, 55% is your body language. So imagine if you are, facing a potential client, or you're facing your student, and say your arms are crossed and you keep looking at your watch and your feet are turning away or facing the opposite direction, or you're tapping your feet, or you're like this when you're talking to that person, and that person says, "Are you okay?" And you respond, "Yeah, I'm fine," right? What did I just say? I said, "I'm fine." I mean, if you take it as is, then you would thereby respond, okay ka pala eh. Sige, then I'll continue talking, right? But if you really are listening to the tone of the voice, okay lang. I'm okay. Diba? Body language doing this, or looking side to side, tapping your fingers on the table, looking at your watch, can't even maintain eye contact, or you keep shifting and asking other questions, diba? That's a sign that if the person you are looking at keeps asking you questions, is not paying attention, is distracted, diba? You are also distracted. Can you imagine the kind of message you're actually delivering? 93% of the message that you deliver is non-verbal, more than the 7% which is verbal. So it's good to check, diba? It's good to check whenever we are talking to people. Um, you know, they can read between the lines, and they can tell, especially our students, diba? They can tell if you are a fake person, by the way your body speaks, and by the way the tone of your voice is. It should match the words that you say. So if you say one thing, "I'm fine," but the tone of your voice is sarcastic, right? Or let's say, um, typically people, for example, with mental sickness would often say that, "I'm fine, I'm okay." But if you are not keen to really listen to what they're saying, that "I'm fine, I'm okay" might actually be a red flag. And it might actually be their way of saying, "I need help." So 93% nonverbal. So the next time you engage in a conversation with someone, have a look at that person's body language, right? Have a really good listening ear to the tone of the voice of the person, more than the words. Helpful, no? 738-55. And the last point, I didn't get to share this with the teachers, the DepEd teachers of Angeles City recently. But if ever they're watching this, yan, bonus po ito. Di ba, after each class, ideally, di ba, kung may oras po, ideally we ask our students, "Do you have any questions?" Di ba? "Do you have any questions?" Ano ang kadalasang sagot ng mga bata? Wala, deadma. Deadma, titingin sa kuko nila, diba? Titingin sa relo nila. "Any questions? Any questions?" "Okay, none." And then we dismiss the class. And I learned that that's the wrong question to ask. If you truly are concerned about their learning and you really want them to ask questions, the question, "Do you have any questions?" is the wrong question to ask. Because more often than not, they will say, "None, miss," "None, sir." Diba? I learned that the question to ask after a discussion or after a sales pitch or whatever is, "What questions do you have?" So blah, 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 blah. "Thank you for listening. What questions do you have about this topic?" Or "What questions do you have about this product or this service?" Diba? It changes. It changed. The burden is now on the person you're talking to. So I'll repeat. What questions do you have? Instead of saying, "Do you have any questions?" To which most of us would say no. To save time, to just exit the conversation or the discussion, we just say no. But if you throw this question, "What questions do you have about this topic, about this product?" And then just pause, diba? Just pause and give that person time and just keep that eye contact for a few seconds. for sure that person would be able to think of something, a clarificatory question or whatnot. And here's the deal. When the question is thrown at you, here's another acronym, RRRC. If a while ago we had the AAA to establish rapport, listening, right? We have RRRC when it comes to answering questions. This is how best to respond. So the first R means repeat. Repeat. So similar to like when you're listening, it's so important, no? It's so important to match and to repeat, 'di ba? Whatever that other person is saying. So if a person asks a question, repeat the question by saying, "So just to clarify, you're asking me blah blah blah." And the person again would feel heard. Wow, she listened to me. She picked up on the question that I asked. The second part after you repeat it is to recognize, di ba? Whether it's a one-on-one conversation or a big audience, especially if it's a big audience, it makes the person feel important when you say, "Hey, that's a good question." Or if it's a big audience, you can say, "Thank you for asking me that. Did everyone understand her question?" Di ba? So to recognize, that's a great question, or I'm glad you asked me that. Um, Excellent question. No one has ever asked that before. So, I mean, if you were the one asking the question, how would you feel? Diba? Instantly, you'd feel like, hey, I like talking to this person. This person makes me feel important, and he or she is validating the question that I asked. So the first is repeat. Second is recognize. The third is to respond. And there are many ways of responding, but my favorite format in responding is, again, another acronym, PREP. These acronyms are all from uh, Ang and McPherson from the Macquarie course, Storytelling and Influencing. So PREP, PREP. So P, make a point. So answer directly, make your first point. And then reason, no? The reason behind the point. And if possible, give an example. And then P again, repeat that point. Point, reason, example, point. Okay? Now, if in the event that you don't know the answer, don't fake it. Don't fake your answer. You can always delay it and say, "That's a good question. I might not have the information right now, but in our next class, in our next meeting, or in an email, I'd be more than happy to answer it for you." So delay. Another style is to delegate. If let's say you're in a company meeting or you're in a group setup and you feel it's a question that other people can answer, or you would benefit from, listening in on the contributions of the group, then you can always throw the question back at them. And then the very last, so RRR, right? C is check in. So always end your answer by saying, "Did I answer your question?" Or "Is there something more you want to know?" So they're useful because most of us, we don't like the Q&A portion, especially if we are the ones leading the discussion, right? If possible, we'll skip the Q&A altogether. But I learned that allowing the person you're talking to or allowing your audience to ask questions or even give comments, gives them, it's another way of saying, "I respect you and you are part of this conversation. This is not a monologue," right? This is not a monologue. Listening is to understand. Don't listen just to advise. Listen to understand the person. Listen to be able to understand the world of that person. I guess simply put in a word, it's called empathy, right? Empathy. I mean, less of you and more about the person who is talking. And to be able to build or establish that rapport, just remember the triple A. Be aware, be authentic, and adapt. And if you are answering questions, the best way to respond is RRRC. Repeat, recognize, recognize. Respond. Oh my gosh. Respond. And the last is check in.